Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, man, do we have a lot of things to talk about here on the show today, and we'll try to get to as many things as possible because not only we're going to talk about a little bit the college football playoffs starting back up tonight, apparently snow's coming into the state of Arkansas and across the nation, so I'm sure we'll have some fun discussion on that. Get to some updates across the board in the sports world, have some funny videos, all that fun stuff, and get to your chats as well as the phone lines. They are officially back open, so this is going to be your day, folks. You can call in, vent frustrations, unfiltered, uncensored, say whatever you want, just nothing that'll get us fined, and we'll make it happen. So 478-344-6623 is the number to call in. But fellas, how we doing here on a lovely Thursday here in Arkansas?
Oof. Oof. In the words of John Calipari, man, I don't think there's going to be any faking it until I make it today. I'm in a foul mood. Last night left a very sour taste in my mouth. There's nothing worse than the guy who turned you down, coaching circles around the guy you wound up getting and beating you on your home floor with a less talented team. I'm not happy. I'm not okay today.
Yeah, I'm not feeling great. I'm also cold. Went to go get some gas, and I'm still like thawing out right now, and so it'll probably take me until about 12:30 before I'm like fully back to room temperature. But it's cold outside, boys. It's really cold, and there's nothing that makes a bad basketball loss worse than being trapped in your house, which is what Arkansas fans are about to have to endure for the next few days.
Yeah, they are, and hopefully everybody stays safe out there, stays warm. I know it's going to be a crazy time for that. It always is anytime inclement weather comes out. But before we get into it, though, I wanted to give a shout-out, guys, because at the end of the show yesterday, our guy Logan, once again, gave us not one, but two incredible super chats. Very kind, very generous of you. It was one of those funny things that guys, like, as soon as we ended the stream, we see it pop up and I'm like, why? I was like, why couldn't it just, we could have gone a little longer so we could have given him a shout out. But we wanted to make sure he got his shout out today because, again, he has been awesome. All of you are great. Like, we love all of everybody that tunes in and taps in. But for him to give that much of a generous super chat to us yesterday was really cool. So I wanted to make sure we gave him his proper shout out.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. I don't know how much of a delay there is from like our like personal stream to what's going on YouTube, but yeah, it was no sooner than you hit the button to end the stream. The first one came through and we were like, oh no. Because that's always our greatest fear is that it's going to happen right at the end because we try to get to obviously every super chat there. But no, that was cool. Like today is Truth Telling Thursday on Inside Arkansas Live, sponsored by Logan. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. And it, I will say, sometimes things get lost in the shuffle in the chat or whatever, but with super chats, we are pretty consistent at least putting them up there. I mean, we got the timestamps to confirm. I think it even says 134 on, I don't know if the fans can see that, but like where we're starting, it says 134, which, as you know, is like right as we're ending the show. We definitely wouldn't have ignored him on purpose, especially not our most loyal sponsor, Logan, of course.
He's our GOAT. I send him a message immediately. I just want everybody to know that. So
yes, yeah. We really do appreciate it, Logan, and we'll get you. Make sure there's an encore. That encore. Do you want more? Cook and Roar from the Brooklyn Boys. For one, I'm sorry. Every time I think of encore, that's what I think of. My bad. I won't do that again. What's that?
You think of Lincoln Park too? You remember they did the,
Oh yeah. Mainly Jay-Z. But Lincoln Park too, yeah. We'll combo there. But
I'm already happy. I was wrong.
Yep, there we go.
Better.
Full circle, or I guess the 180. Now we're really happy, folks. But yeah, basically everybody, as Kurt said, a truth telling Thursday here on Inside Arkansas Live, sponsored by Logan. It's we're gonna give our thoughts. We're gonna get to some of the segments. We're gonna talk about a lot of different things. But we really want this particular stream to be a lot about what you want to say and to vent about, because there is a lot there. I know for us three, our replies last night were wild. Our DMs have been wild, and the chats last night at Pod at the Palace was wild and crazy. You all have a lot to say, and you all have a lot to get off your chest, and so we're going to make that kind of the prime focus today is hearing from you, not only in the chat, but again, on the phone lines, as they are open at 478-344-6623, and we'll try to work through them all. But guys, before we start getting into all of that for the fans, I do want to just have us kind of discuss, just after sleeping on it from last night and seeing where we're at right now and where everything's going, just how do we feel about this right now? Like, not even just the current state of basketball, just the current state of everything in general with the Razorbacks. Just how do we feel about this?
Well, I don't want to give away too much of my spiel for what I just recorded that's going out tomorrow morning, which is talking about just the disconnect with this basketball team, and the fan base, with this basketball team on the floor, and what's going on and how it can be fixed. But I think a couple things can be true. Like, you can acknowledge, there are 16 more SEC basketball games to be played. Yes. Arkansas can get better and probably will. Yes. The NCAA tournament is still on the table. Like, there's no need to really panic about that just yet. All those things can be true while also acknowledging that something just ain't right at the moment. Like, this is not the current path that you want to be on. Something is not clicking with this basketball team. That's what concerns me. I don't care about the 0-2 start. I had Arkansas going 1-2 in the first 3 games. It doesn't seem very likely that that's going to happen at this point, but it's still on the table. My point is, it's about the way it's looked. It's about being totally uncompetitive with such a huge opportunity on the road against number 1, just like not being ready for that moment. It's about being just lackadaisical, like a weird lack of effort and focus for long stretches in your SEC home opener against the team in your building that you should have beat. It's about starting to hear the reruns of the exact same things over and over of, we got to teach this team how to win. Well, do you have to teach them how to win, or are they the winners and, or the fighters with the will to win that you keep telling us they are, So, something's just not quite right. You're getting too many no-shows from too many key pieces. They are behind, and they've got a lot to figure out. So, am I throwing the towel on the season? No, of course not. Am I very concerned about where they're at right now? Yes, I absolutely am.
Yeah, I think Curtis nailed it a lot there. I really like what he said, but also I think going back to the resume point, I think a lot of people are getting really worked up about the 0-2 potential 0-3 SEC start. And like, that makes sense. Like, I'm not saying you should be happy and be like, no, it's not a big deal to be 0-3 in the SEC. It is. But I think when you look at the teams that you're losing to, like, if there is a time to suck, I'm not saying now's the time to do it. But it's not like they're losing games to BPI 220 teams or losing like a home game against like LSU or something like that, which, like, look, I'm not saying this team's not going to do. I'm not going to say that. Like, I can't put anything past them at this point. But I think like to Curtis's point, like, some of these games were going to be tough, even if you were firing on all cylinders. But now getting back to the team and how something isn't right and it's just not clicking, we can say, hey, yeah, like, there's plenty of time, plenty of work for them to do. I am just less and less confident as the days go by that this is going to be a group that really bands together and shows that toughness and really goes on a run here. And so we'll see how it plays out. I think it would do them a lot of good if, after this Florida game, if they could get back, they got a couple road games that are winnable. You get those, you can go ahead and get you some gimmies. I think you can start taking steps, but I definitely have lost faith that this is going to be like a team that really turns it around in a massive way. At this point, what we're really hoping for is that they can crawl into the NCAA tournament and maybe scare a team or two is really what we're looking at. The season has quickly gone from could this team actually be awesome? And, we were pissed off that Joe Lunardi had him as like a 7-8 seed. Now it's like, dude, if they could just somehow get the right draw in the NCAA tournament, maybe they could scare someone in March. That's kind of where I'm at with this season, where like, I don't think this team is going to be a competitor in the SEC regular season race. I don't think they're going to finish in the top 5, 6 in the conference. And so it's really just a matter of, can they do enough to get in the tournament? And as Curtis mentioned, like, there's still plenty of opportunity for that. I just hope fans realize that's the situation that we're in.
Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite movies is Apollo 13. I don't know if you all seen Apollo 13. Really great movie if you haven't. But one of the things that, as everything's kind of going awry there on the shuttle, the main guy down on the floor who's trying to, Ed Harris's character goes, all right, so I know all these things are happening, but tell me what's good. What do we have that's good? so that way we can go to that and try to figure out how to get this thing going. And that's kind of the question that I'm feeling right now, is that you see this thing coming apart. You see all the problems. You see how, I feel worse about this team now than I did at the beginning of the season. And honestly, I don't know anything more about this team than what I do from the beginning of the season. It seems like it's the same stuff. So that's what I'm looking at. I was like, what's good? What can you point to that you can say, hey, well, this is happening, or this could be the thing, this could be the deal of how it all gets going. And I just don't even have that right now. And hearing about, teaching the kids how to win, I understand it. But at the same time, I'm like, what does that mean though? Like, what do you mean teaching them how to win? And is that something you can just do in the middle of a season with SEC play underway and being at 0-2? I don't think it's I get what you're saying, Cal, but I also don't think that's just something they're like, oh, no, we just got to do these things, and then they'll learn how to win with 16 games left in the season.
Yeah, that you teach those lessons during non-conference. You know what I mean? This is not the time to do it, but it's just kind of fundamental things from last night from that standpoint that really irked me. Just calling that random timeout at half court, John L. Davis, 6.5 minutes left. Then you come out of the timeout, give up a home run pass, and get dunked on. So what was the purpose of said timeout? Just to let Chris Beard draw up a play to burn you? Milking the clock all the way down when you're down multiple possessions with under 2 minutes left, as if you're the team that had the lead. Like, well, why? Like, what are you doing there? Not fouling in a two possession game with 30 seconds still left on the clock. Like, it's kind of basketball 101 type of stuff there. But it just shows me, again, like, disconnect is my favorite word right now, because it's just like something's just not quite right there. But what I do think is, and I've seen a few comments about this in here, is like, Calipari is great at assembling talent. He can't coach and everything like that. I spent way too much time last night being pissed off about a lack of adjustments and within the game, and doing this against the switches or whatever. That's not going to happen. Like, we can't ask a tiger to change its stripes here. Why have Calipari's teams won in the past? It's not because he's a great in-game coach. It's because they're more talented, more athletic than everybody else. So you have to find a way to overwhelm teams with that. I think they need to simplify the game a little bit, because sitting here pretending that all of a sudden they're going to be just drawing up these bangers of plays and, winning a chess match against other coaches in the SEC, it just ain't going to happen.
I think another thing that gives me a lot of big picture concern is that, we use terms like identity and kind of what's your identity, and going back to John's point about finding something that you're good at and like, let's just roll with that. This team doesn't have consistent traits, and I mean that in good ways and bad. It's not like they're consistently bad in all of the same areas. It's like game to game, you might get out rebounded like crazy against Tennessee. It's not like that's been the story all season. You might really struggle to defend the 3-point line against Illinois. It's not like that's been the issue all season. It doesn't seem like this team has consistency in any realm, good or bad. Like, they'll be good in some areas here and there. Whereas, like, if this was a story where it's like, all right, this team, they're just not knocking down 3-point shots. Will they eventually knock down 3-point shots? Like, I can kind of get behind that. But this team, it seems like it comes back to like the whack-a-mole thing, where it's kind of different issues, and it doesn't seem like there's any consistent traits about this team, good or bad. Like, what would you say this team is really just one really bad about? It's ball screen defense for sure, but it's like, in general, game to game, they have different things that pop up, and then they'll be good in different areas. And so it's like, with Eric Musselman's teams, as much struggles as they always had, by about February, it seemed like they would always at least have some sort of like, all right, we're kind of good at this, so let's just go all in on that. Like, even his first team that sucked, they were really good at defending the 3-point line, and they made a bunch of threes. And so it was like, all right, that's kind of all we have. That's our only traits. This team doesn't even have traits. Like, I don't even mean it's all bad. It's just like, they don't have things that they will consistently do 2-3 games in a row, good or bad. And it's just like, it makes it so much harder to problem solve and figure out what the next step forward, what they should be honing in on, what they should be focusing on, because it's really just different things popping up each game.
Well, and also to your point, I'm glad you brought it up, Andrew, because I was thinking the same thing, where the example of Muss's first team, like, going into the year, I think is what helped everything too. Going into the year, everyone knew, okay, their tallest players, Adrio Bailey or Reggie Chaney, So what does that mean at 6'7"? They're probably going to get destroyed on the boards. And guess what? They did. So instead of trying to just, we're just going to go out there and focus on rebounding, it's like, yeah, maybe. Or you go with your 3-point shooting and Mason Jones and Isaiah Joe and just let them go and do their thing and be great defenders out there and try to win that way. Same thing I felt like just a couple years ago with the team with JD Note, Jalen Williams, Stanley Mude, and all that. It's like you knew you didn't have a whole lot of offensive firepower besides JD Note. Stanley Mude came on late, and even Jalen Williams would at least give you double digits, but that was it. So instead of going somewhere else or trying to, they're like, hey, JD Note, take 38 shots a game. Go out there and just do that. And hey, Audis Tony, you can't score very well, but man, you can defend. Go out there and just guard the best player every game. You saw like what they could do well, and they utilized that and just found different ways to win. And I just don't get that vibe from this team and their approach of, just what are you good at? Okay, go and do that. It's kind of just, it really feels like you roll out the ball and all right, let's just see what happens. Just go do things, play basketball. It looks like just a pickup game. You don't really know who's going to be good. You don't know who's going to make good decisions. And it's nauseating. I mean, it's really nauseating to watch this team play at times. And last night was just a great example of it, where I get it. It's SEC play. There's still 16 games left. But the problems with this team, it'd be one thing, guys, if they were 0-2 because they played really good teams. But it's the way that they've lost and the way that they've looked. Like we're not sitting there, oh man, Ole Miss just got hot from 3 and hey, it's the way the cookie crumbles. It's like, no, they should have beaten Ole Miss. They should have beaten Ole Miss 10 out of 10 times last night and at home in Bud Walton. They should have. But man, they just looked lost, incompetent, and low IQ, and there's no excuse for it at this point in time in the season. Even if with 16 games left of the season, still no excuse for it.
Yeah. Well, if a team can slow them down, they're going to struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I'm at right now. Like I'm done trying to think of the adjustments and everything. Like it's just not a thing. They're not going to change things up from that regard. They got to play fast. They got to get out in transition. They got to push the tempo. When they get into half court offense, it's going to be a grind, man. And that's why I don't understand why they're so content and like walking the ball up the floor and surveying the defense and getting into your set or whatever you want to call it with 15 seconds left on the shot clock. It's kind of counterintuitive to what I do think that they are really good at, which is getting out in the open floor. And that's where the talent and athleticism can really shine. But some teams have slowed them down here. And look, like Tennessee and Ole Miss are good at defense, but welcome to the SEC, man. Like that's everybody is. So like you got to figure out a way to overcome that, and we'll see if they do it. So.
Yeah, you mentioned overwhelming people with their athleticism, and I think that's something in non-conference that has helped them kind of mask some of these woes, is that you're forcing these teams to turn the ball over 19 times. You're blocking 12 shots. Well, yeah, it's easy to get out and run when you're doing that, and you're forcing long 3-point misses. But yeah, against a team like Ole Miss that only turns the ball over 5 times, it's these issues that Arkansas has, especially when it just becomes a half court versus half court game, definitely get highlighted, and it's concerning. And so Arkansas's got to find a way to get back to that. I mean, getting out and run, yeah, you'd like to do that, and the way you do that, turnovers, block shots, and it's harder to do that against good teams. And so there's definitely a systemic issue here.
Just sucks. It just sucks. Everything sucks. And it's just not fun right now. But hey, again, that's what today's about, folks. So get in on the chat. We'll get to your phone calls in a bit. If you want in on the conversation, 478-344-6623 is that number. Before we get into the chat, we'll go ahead and, since we're discussing it, do your Alumni Hall question of the day, presented by Alumni Hall, the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. Hey, the team may not look good, but you can look good wearing great Razorback apparel over at Alumni Hall. And they have the best selection of everything for men, women, and kids, as well as Southern Tide, Columbia, Peter Millar, Johnny O, everything right there at Alumni Hall. You can shop online, alumnihall.com, as well as in-store, 3417 North College Avenue. It's Alumni Hall, the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. Ask the question, do you still believe the Razorbacks are going to make the NCAA tournament? Very simple. Yes or no? As of right now, fellas, 62% of the Razorback fan base says no. Straight up. Ain't making it. And I don't disagree. Like that's how I feel too. I feel like they're not making the NCAA tournament right now.
Well, definitely not playing the way that they are. So mean, Cal, how he's been preaching patience since the summer. So if he's right, and he's a man of his word, then they'll probably figure some things out. But that's kind of the theme of our post game show last night. Was it's all still in the table for Arkansas, but the margin of error just becomes increasingly thin. If you come into SEC play going, hey, you know what, like 8-10 in this league this year will get you in the NCAA tournament. Well, now it's 8-8. And like if you lose to Florida, like many expect you to do, then it's 8-7. You know what I mean? So it's the path is getting more and more difficult with every loss you take while you're trying to figure it out, which again is why I've been so much on this Bud Walton Arena train of there are just games where the building can push you over the top, even if you're not really the better team on a given night. And now that's dead too. So I don't know, man. They got their work cut out.
Yeah, I'm going to lean with the very, very slightest of yeses. Like the least confident, the shakiest yes you've ever heard is what I'm going with here. And to your point, Curtis, I was kind of looking at it through that exact lens of like 8 wins is probably like the number. It's like the magic number, if you will. And we don't know that to be sure. It's just kind of based on all the estimates and stuff. It seems like that's the case. If nothing else, 8-10 would give you a chance to seal your fate in the SEC tournament. I think I do expect Arkansas to lose to Florida. Like you said, you expected a 1-2 start to SEC play, which I think is fair. Obviously, I mean, I thought that was a normal, I thought that was a fair take going into it. So they're going to end up being 0-3. I think what this Ole Miss loss does is it makes me think they're going to have to go beat someone they weren't supposed to beat now. Because I mean, look, there's still a lot of home games that they can win. Hell, I even think the 2 road games they have next week, those are obviously like we can't even talk about anything if they don't win both of those games. Really, in my opinion, like I don't think you can be 1-4 where they lost to Missouri on your resume and then be like, yeah, we're going to make the NCAA tournament. Like, I really think both of those are must wins. You got to beat the Tigers. But I do think like 8-7 after this Florida game is doable. But again, the Ole Miss loss is really like one that I didn't forecast for them. I didn't think they really, like, I'm not saying they couldn't afford it, but I think they have to make up for that on the back end somewhere, whether that's beating A&M on the road, whether that's beating Texas on the road, or just something like that. But I think 8-7 after this Florida game is semi-doable, but obviously, like, this team's going to have to make some legitimate changes and actually show some progress here soon.
For what it's worth, and it's just an algorithm, but over at Torvik, which is one of the analytics that's on the NCAA tournament evaluation committee, their team sheets that they look at, they have this thing called tourney cast and tourney odds. And before this Ole Miss game, Arkansas was 59.2% to get into the NCAA tournament. This morning, they are at 42.
That feels accurate. Like, those numbers feel pretty, like, that's about how I feel like in my head. Like, I think that makes sense. That was a big swing.
Yeah.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, so I think everyone's on board with that right now. It's like you're teetering, but man, if you get your taint handed to you against Florida on Saturday, yeah, it might be curtains. It might be curtains for you. Let's go ahead and get to some of your chats, folks. Again, appreciate everybody checking in. And I just want to always just bring up Logan for today. It's a Logan show today. If anybody gets in on the show or talks on the show, it's because of Logan. So thank you, Logan. But still, a few chats that we'll get to is also the phone lines. 478-344-6623 is that number to call in. Let's see. Starting with the Razorback Hog here. He says, Cal is just an elite recruiter, but his coaching skills suck.
Well, I started that earlier because that was to a less harsh degree kind of my point about, like, it just seemed like some pretty easy adjustments that could have been made in that game. And it's frustrating to hear after a loss, like, oh, we got to go, look at the film and correct these things. And it's like, you kind of need to correct them in game so you don't lose. But it's just not his strength, man. Like, he's not going to take home any prizes as an in-game coach, but he assembles very, very talented rosters. And so I think he just needs to do a better job probably of putting them in position to succeed and win the way that they've won in the past, because they are talented and athletic enough to beat a lot of teams on their schedule because of that. It doesn't mean you can be a horribly coached team or whatever. Like, they got to be much more solid fundamentally, better on the defensive end. But I think I'm going to, and I think fans would probably benefit from getting away from the, well, where are the X's and O's? What about the plays? And why is he not doing this on deep? No, like this, that's just not his thing. So I'm going away from that. And for me, it's more about putting players in position to make plays, because that's how his teams win.
Yeah.
Also, another couple chats here too. Like this one comes from Seth. He says, so losing to number 1 on the road and number 23 at home hurts us that bad. I agree, though. We have a couple must wins coming up.
I don't understand why this is so hard for people to grasp. It's not about who you lost to. It's about how you did it, and it's how you looked when you did it. It's not that you lost to number 1 Tennessee on the road. It's that you were completely uncompetitive in a game that Razorback fans, us included, were like thinking, hey, you got a real chance to compete. We were offended by the 12-point spread, and you guys were too. And then you completely laid an egg. Ole Miss, you were favored to beat by 3.5 points. It was a game that some people said must win. We didn't say it was a must win, but we all kind of looked at the schedule and thought, you're going to really want this win to get you some breathing room, get you a nice resume. You can't drop games on your home floor when you're favored. Arkansas in a lot of years maybe loses 2 home games the entire season. And you've already lost one that you were favored in, and you've got some really tough ones coming up with Alabama, with Texas. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not saying it's an insurmountable thing, but I mean, Curtis just read off the numbers. It definitely, like last night's game in particular, impacted Arkansas's NCAA tournament probabilities a pretty large amount, because it was a game Arkansas was supposed to win. And you've got a really tough game against Florida on Saturday. It's like, I'm not saying it like ruins it, but yeah, like, I don't understand why that's so hard for you guys to grasp.
Yeah, it's like I felt like last night. I think me and Curtis, when we were freezing our balls off trying to walk back to the car before the game was even fully over, but we knew it was over. I was just like, that Ole Miss team wasn't even that good. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't deserve their ranking or that they won't be a tournament team, but it's not like I walked in and I saw that roster and I saw them play. I'm like, man, these guys got some dudes and they're just legit. It's like, no, they weren't anything special. They were a solid team, a solid SEC team. That's all they are. And you didn't even look competitive against them in the second half. You looked like a bunch of jokers.
A solid, well-coached SEC team, because Chris Beard is doing more with less over there. Like it was a coaching clinic. He did a hell of a job. Like, credit to him, and also credit to Ole Miss. Like, we can sit here and say, like, that Arkansas should have won that game, had no business losing that at home. All that's true, but like, credit to Ole Miss for what they did. They were not as good as I thought they were coming into the game, but they're very well coached. And Chris Beard knows how to put his guys in position to get the shots that they need to take, where they need to take them, who he wants to take them. And the biggest thing for me was, like, they had no problem identifying a mismatch, creating a mismatch, and exploiting it over and over and over. They know what Arkansas struggles with defensively, and they exploited it over and over and over. He did a hell of a job. So I got to give credit where it's due to Chris Beard.
That Ole Miss team just knows who they are. You know, like, they just know exactly what they're trying to do each game. And it's just crazy how many excuses Arkansas fans will make for themselves. Like, you lose all these games in football and you're like, man, well, it's just because of talent. We just ain't got talent. Well, you got some damn talent. You were substantially more talented than Ole Miss, and that didn't seem to matter either. So it's like, how do y'all like justify losing in so many different ways? Good Lord.
Yeah, it gets really frustrating. We'll get to your phone calls, just a couple more chats real quick. This one comes from Camo Hog, and I was trying to think of it, and maybe you guys have one of the stats on you, but it's like, how many times has Cal started 0-2 in SEC play? I'd be curious to see how those seasons went.
He never has. So there you go. The only time he started 0-2 in conference play, period, was the 91-92 season. Shout out to Danny Shee for handing me that stat last night.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, when I saw this, I was kind of thinking, I was like, I mean, because we talked about it going in SEC play, like how well Cal has fared against the SEC, and obviously the SEC hasn't always been what it is this year. Like, there were a lot of years where Kentucky was pretty much the only team with real talent in the SEC. That's definitely not the case now, but yeah, that's a rough one.
Making history each and every day. Sheesh. All right, let's go ahead and go to the phone lines. Let's get these bad boys up. And I think you guys probably know it's only right and seems correct that their first caller, of course, happens to be Trey and Harrison. What's going on, Trey?
Hell yeah.
What's going on, boys?
What's up, brother?
Boy, I'm glad I picked up a couple new hobbies. Lord, I picked up trout fishing and archery at the right time.
I bet so, man. I bet so.
Thank God. The only sad thing is I ain't enough to drink because I'm sure I'd go through some bottles watching those games. But I'm not going to lie. I ain't given up complete hope on the season yet. It's kind of teetering, but we're 2 games into the SEC season. Andrew, I get it. We lost terribly, but I think we can rebound. I got to cut my hair, though. I got to change to Juju. I encourage you guys to do the same. Andrew, maybe you need to shave. I'm chopping my lettuce off right now.
I'm not shaving the head for a January 0-2 basketball start. Hell no.
I don't have much hair to get rid of, but
I might shave my beard. How about that? I'll get the facial hair cleaned up.
Yeah, and I'm keeping on every bit of hair I can hold on to, so I'm definitely not doing that.
Yeah, John, that hairline ain't doing too good. No offense, buddy.
Yeah, none taken. Thank you.
See y'all later.
All right,
Go Hogs.
All right, man.
Appreciate it, Trey.
Get back to school, brother.
Jeez.
One thing I will say about that is, I like cheer for your team. This is what we said last night. I think it was to David who was like, "Hey, I'm sunshine pumping here. That's okay. Cheer for your team." We're all rooting for him too, man. I think the thing is, like, when we hear people say, I'm not throwing away the season yet. I think they can turn around. Cool. It's 100% okay to think that, but what have we seen in the last 2 games that makes you feel like that's going to happen? Like, significant changes have to happen for them to do that. And hopefully they freaking do, man. Because I know covering this team last year was I probably lost years off of my life doing it every day, and I'm not looking forward to doing it again. So I hope that they figure it out. But I think just being transparent and open about the issues and everything, that's not giving up on the season or folding on the team or throwing them on the bus or anything. It's just kind of the reality of where they're at until some things change.
All right. I know we're going to get to an Arkansas update, which is going to be fascinating because we're going to use that as part of our discussion about Bud Walton Arena and the atmosphere or lack thereof. We're going to talk about it because I know a lot of people want in on that. But let's go back to the phone lines. I believe this is Hayden in West Memphis. We'll find out. What's up, Hayden?
Hey, John. It's my first time calling in. I love the show. I met you at the Liberty Bowl. Had a good time. Last night was my first game at Bud Walton for an SEC game, and it was really disappointing, being from Northeast Arkansas. I grew up going to Little Rock games mostly, and the atmosphere just didn't compare. I felt like a crazy person most of the game trying to stand up and yell, and, it was just really disappointing. I wanted to get y'all's thought on it.
Yeah, appreciate you calling in, man. Yeah, I do remember. It's good meeting you over there at the Liberty Bowl. I can tell you what, we can go ahead and just make that happen. We can go ahead and jump right into your Arkansas update presented by Davis & Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most. And discussing Bud Walton Arena, the atmosphere, the vibes. We did a show yesterday, guys, as you know, of titling it and discussing about the Bud Walton Arena and the atmosphere. Is it dead? Is it whatever? And there were some people, not all, but some people that took exception to said discussion. Jeez, I mean, come on, clickbait. Burr, burr, burr. And last night, I think kind of proved the point of the whole discussion. So I want y'all's thoughts because I definitely have some. But Curtis, I know you were there, and Andrew, I know you've been there many times before. But just, I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, we talked about it yesterday before the game, and everybody else is talking about it today afterwards. So looks like we were just ahead of the curve in terms of bringing this up again. Here's my thought. It wasn't full in Bud Walton Arena. It filled in fairly nicely. Like it, wasn't a great crowd. It definitely wasn't a terrible crowd in terms of attendance, but there was no energy. There was no pop. There was no home court advantage in this game. Like there were times where the loudest section of the arena was the Ole Miss bench. And there were times where it was Arkansas's bench starting the defense chant while the home crowd was just sitting there chilling. Here's my thing, and we could say, well, the fans gave us nothing to cheer about. Okay, fair. But what about in the first half when Arkansas built a 9-point lead and there were dunks and threes and blocks and all that? And you could hear a pin drop in there still. At the end of the day, like, I just think it's got to be a symbiotic relationship. Like, we can keep doing this chicken or the egg thing on, well, the crowd has to spark the players have to spark the crowd. No, you're in this together. That's why it's called a home court advantage. That's why people call it the 6 man. That is gone. There's just been so many games that I've sat in the past where Arkansas has looked equally bad, not playing well. They look out of sorts, but there was always just like this, just a pulse in the building. And when I think about Bud Walton magic, I think about we're just like out of nowhere. Nothing even crazy has to happen in the game, but just organically, like, the crowd it's just a roar. All of a sudden they're just on their feet, and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? And it just kind of wills the team. It just changes the momentum of the game. The crowd has the ability to do that. Whether the team was playing well or not, I've seen it a million times. Didn't happen last night. And so for me, it's not even about, and I understand the, gobbling up the season tickets and, not scanning and, all these different reasons for not attending. It wasn't about attendance for me last night so much as there was just no engagement or energy in there. And it bled from both sides, team and crowd. And that's an issue.
I think that's a great point. And you mentioned how it's not about attendance. I was actually thought about this when John asked how many people were at that Kentucky Michael Qualls game, and he said 17,000. It wasn't even a packed house. But like, when we remember that moment, we remember how crazy that crowd was. We remember the guy that was trying to fight Andrew Harrison. Like, there was just a pride. There was a sense of like there was a chip on the fan base's shoulder where it was like they were out to prove something, and like that kind of bled over. And maybe it was just a different time because that was also Arkansas hadn't had a ton of basketball success leading up to that night. So maybe it was just a hungrier fan base. Like, I really don't know. But they have successfully gentrified the atmosphere at Bud Walton Arena. It definitely, I can't remember who it was that said it exactly. One of our great commenters that said, like, it feels way too much like a professional sporting event where it's like there's just ads and sponsorships everywhere, and we're gonna meet this guy who's selling this or whatever. And it's like, it feels very like uniform. It doesn't feel like a college basketball game anymore. It feels a lot. I mean, the prices are closer to an NBA game as well. Yeah. It's definitely just a weird atmosphere. And I also just want to clarify one thing. I see a lot of people that are saying, they're not fans of John Williams or whatever, but they're spelling it John Williams. That John Williams is the Star Wars music guy and the Jaws music guy and the Indiana Jones music guy. That John Williams is a freaking legend. So don't talk about that John Williams. You can talk about John Williams all you want. And I'm not going to disagree. Spell the name right. John Williams. That's a legend.
Can I just say, and I'm not stealing the soapbox back because I know it's John's turn. But a lot of people do the thing here where it's like, but they're doing the baby race and the Whataburger fry thing and the tic-tac-toe. Nobody gives a damn. DJ Derek is playing the wrong music. John Williams can't get the crowd going. All that might be true, but they've all been there for years. This is not new. Like, this is not a new thing. All of those things have been happening as long as I can remember. But the atmosphere is different now. Mm-hmm. So, like, why is that the case? I think maybe those things are just a little bit more on the mind because people are looking for reasons, but like, this is not a new happening. At least as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's the thing that I think I get frustrated with fans on is that there's certain excuses or certain reasons that are 100% wrong and not even a thing. Midweek games. Nope. Midweek games have been happening since the beginning of ever. Don't give me that. 6 p.m. Nope. That's been happening forever too. They even had, like you said, people talking about the ads and John Williams. I could maybe see to an extent that impacting it. But like you said, Curtis, that's been going on for a while. You can't say the things that aren't new or aren't huge changes being the reason why the atmosphere sucks. There's zero excuse for that. It's deeper and it's more than that. There's a lot more than that. I talked to a fan last night just about a few things, which, by the way, Curtis, he says that he wants you to coach the Razorbacks. Just give you a heads up. But he was telling me, and he used it perfectly from a fan perspective. And this was in beginning of the second half. I think it was the first media timeout. He's walking out there. He has his kid, and he says, "Man, I just feel awkward in there." That's what he said. He's like, "I feel awkward." He's like, "I feel like it's, you're in a place that you don't know anybody, but it's a party, and you kind of sit there with your drink. And you're like, okay, so what do I do? Do I go up to people?" There's just awkwardness. And there's nothing worse than having awkwardness, because then that brings the vibe, makes the vibe weird. You feel it. Like, people aren't stupid. A lot of people are, but not everybody when it comes to a collective group. They can feel if something's wrong, something's off. And that's what it feels like. Something is off. And could it be a little bit of the issues with the flow of the game and the ads and all that? Maybe. But this is a much deeper problem, because this happened instantly. It wasn't like something we saw 2-3 years ago where, like, man, the crowd's starting to dwindle a little bit. No, this happened instantly. And that's what I think is so puzzling about the whole deal, and why people are trying to figure out what's going on, is because it went from, what was it, a little over a year ago, that Duke basketball game, as great of an atmosphere as you'll ever see, to suddenly nothing, like just a bad atmosphere. And that's what's so puzzling to me, is how quickly it came to an end. And I have no explanation for it either.
I think Hunter just needs to pony up for one game with DJ Khaled in there instead of DJ Derek, and we'll see if it becomes a madhouse again.
That'll be it. Yeah. Because I feel very passionately about this, guys. I mean, I know I was a student section guy for a long time, and those of you who are newer to maybe Razorback games, I think Hayden, when he called in, said it was his first Razorback SEC game, which, my God, son, I'm sorry. That sucks. But I was there for Pelfrey years, man, when the team was trash. And the one thing you could always count on, coaches come and go, players come and go, ADs come and go, everybody comes and goes. But the one thing you could always count on and be like, I didn't care if it was the number one Duke Blue Devils coming into town and you were a team that was 0-6. I always felt like, hey, they're coming to Bud Walton Arena. We could win. Like, that's how I always felt, no matter who it was. And last night, I got depressed. It was something that I've loved and cherished for so long. That atmosphere that's always been there, and it was just gone. It wasn't even a thing. Something that always gets talked about, Bud Walton Arena and the atmosphere. It was gone. And I think that what frustrates me the most about it is it just seems like there's a lack of acknowledging from the people that can actually help out with it and change it. They don't. It's like they don't care. That's what comes across. Yeah, you paid us your money. You paid us your season tickets. We don't care. Oh, because I don't care what anybody says. This platform right here at Inside Arkansas and us three right here, we have voices. We have a platform. We're not just, random people out here that are just yelling at the clouds from our troll Twitter accounts. Like, we've talked about it. It's getting talked about across the platforms and across all media here in Arkansas. So it's not just a small little negative part of people on Twitter. It's there. It's a problem. And just nobody seems to want to acknowledge it or care about it. Nobody wants to do anything about it.
It's because people get defensive on both sides of it, I think. And it doesn't have to be a finger pointing type of thing. And we've done this show before,
Yeah.
but like, it doesn't have to be the blame game. It just has to be like, okay, acknowledging the first step, right, to overcoming a problem is acknowledging that one exists, and then figuring out the solution to get it back, man, because that's all I want. Like, I want Bud to be rocking again. I miss that. And it is special when it's at its best, or when it's even close to its best. And it gives Razorback fans something to be proud of and have pride in. And it helps the freaking team. So like, I hope that they figure it out and get back to it. So it's not we're not browbeating anybody here, but just, acknowledging what's becoming a pretty glaring problem that they're even talking about on ESPN broadcast now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because it does. Every time we have this conversation, it gets framed as we're attacking the fans, and we're like, hey, we're pointing the finger at them. It's your fault. Like, no. And everyone, like you said, they get defensive and they kind of offer up their defense or explanation, and all of them are accurate. All of them are right. We're not disagreeing with you. We're just simply speaking about it and talking about this is a problem. I also wanted to just touch on this quick comment here, because I saw this early. He said, because I see a lot of people put stuff like this where he's like, set a minimum scan participation of 80%. If you can't use them, sell them or whatever. Listen, us normal folks, all would be cool with this. We all would like this. The people that actually go to games. But if you think that rich folks are going to not give tickets that are very expensive to people that are paying big money for them, even if they're not showing up, like, it's just not going to be a thing that happens. So again, it's like one of those things where we bring up the issue and people will cite stuff like that. Whoa, it's because they're giving all the tickets to rich folks. We agree. We're not disputing that. We're just bringing light to it and saying that it's a thing that happens. But yeah, all these things sound good on paper, but if you think that the university is going to start doing that, it just ain't going to happen.
Can I go full old man Razorback fan on you guys for a second, if you'll indulge? I think a lot of it too is it starts at the top. I think that the season tickets, in the way that they've done it, I get it, they got their money, but you put people in a position to where it's like, hey, you want to go to that Alabama basketball game that's home on a Saturday? Well, your best bet to get to that game and have decent seats is you got to buy season tickets. So people are going to buy season tickets all across the state, but they're not going to be able to go to the games. And so you're just not going to have it that way. That's first and foremost. You got to change that. You need to make it back to the way it used to be, where the lower bowl was the only season tickets that you would buy. And then the upper deck was generic, like first come, first serve, whatever. That's number one, because that at least provides people and also do it the way I remember Florida Gators did it this way, guys. They would do it based on the game. If you wanted upper deck seats against Norfolk State or whoever, they're like $5. No matter what, $5. Go on the web. But if it was, playing the number one team in the country or SEC games, they'd go to 50. Kind of like balance them out where it's, hey, you want to go to the big games? That's great. You're going to have to pay more. I think people would understand that. So that's one thing. But what also bugs me is that you have people who are in charge of marketing, who are in charge of promotion, who are in charge of all these things. They come fresh out of college. They come right down here to Arkansas. They come from Stetson or wherever, and they do some research on what happens in basketball games and what are fun, and they base it off of NBA games. They base it off of G League games and all of that. And they don't, not to say it's wrong that they do it, because I get that's part of it, but they're not going to stay at Arkansas forever. They're going to look for their next job. But they don't really look at, instead of looking at the research from over there, look at Arkansas and what works for them. And so that's where you have these clunky things where, I'll say this, guys, and I mean, I'm already in it. You know what pisses me off? And it's this, you're going to laugh because it's this small crap, but I am a huge fan. You guys remember Grace Tafalo, right? You guys remember her?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody else does probably listen to the chat. They're like, who the crap is that? She was the sports information director, one of the sports information directors here at the University of Arkansas. Great girl. Awesome. Love her. She did great at her job. Well, she left this past year to go to Texas. Got a great gig. No problems. Great. When Arkansas played Texas, you know what they put on the Jumbotron before the Texas game as fans are coming in? Welcome back, Grace Tafalo. I love Grace. Again, no problems with her personally or anything. But that kind of, to me, shows the incentive and the ideas of what these people are doing and how they're approaching things, where nobody knows who Gracie is. Like, nobody gives a crap about that.
I did not expect Grace Tafalo to catch a stray in the middle of this.
Straight. I'm going to clip this and send it to her.
Do it, please. And I'm sure
Grace.
Listen, it could have been Mayor McCheese for all I care. But yes, I'm just using her as a specific example. Shout out, Grace. Hopefully you don't get too pissy. But my point is that you have a thing at the game where it's nobody gives a rip about on the Jumbotron, but it's the mentality of that. Yeah. Where you're welcoming back someone that nobody in the stands knows about, that they left for another job at the SEC that works at Texas, and you give a huge banner that says, welcome back? Like, you guys are living in your own fantasy world over there. You don't care about the fans. You don't care about what they want. You care about what's in your own little bubble. And I'm also really pissed off with Hunter Yurachek. This dude's been checked out for a year. He's gone. I'm sorry. He's done. He has been radio silent. I know that he puts out these most generic tweets about good luck tonight. But guys, I felt like, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I felt like the pre-Cal getting hired, or even pre-Muss in that year going tits up, I felt like previously he was pretty interactive with fans and on Twitter and on social media, putting up funny stuff, making funny jokes. He did press conferences. He did interviews. The dude is missing. He is MIA. And I think that's also what's hurt a lot of people's belief and confidence of where things are going, because I feel like he did not get that Texas A&M job, and he's just waiting until he can take his first train out of the door. That's how it looks, and that's how I feel.
Hey, man,
and so when the main guy, the athletic director, is doing that, why everybody else is going to do it, so why would he even care about anybody else or what anything's going on?
Let's leak your phone number and let you get death threats and hate mail and dick pics sent to your phone for every minute on the minute for 2 weeks, and then see how online you are with your fan base. So.
No, I get that. Trust me, I get that. I wouldn't do it either. But it's like he still was doing press conferences, though. Like, he was still there. You know, the Twitter thing is one thing or other. I'm just talking about, what was the last time we've heard from him? The dude didn't even give out a statement from Pittman. We're saying, like, we're keeping this guy confident and everything. Like, nothing. And it's just read the room. Everyone's mad. What's that?
Has he been doing the win as one Razorback tweets lately? Because I know he also put those on pause for a while.
Yeah, no, he's doing it. He's just like, good luck to Razorback men's basketball tonight. Yeah. And it's like, okay, but I know, maybe this is just my opinion. Maybe I'm just, fired up and pissed off because I'm depressed as a Razorback fan. But I'm just mad that there's just no communication. There's no ownership. There's just, you talk about the disconnect. It just feels disconnected. Like, I feel like Hunter Yurachek doesn't want to be here. That's the vibe I get. Whether it's true or not, we'll see. But I just feel like he doesn't want to be here, and it's showing. He's
not doing anything to dispel the way you feel. You know?
Yeah. And that's, I think, what bothers me. I'm not saying he has to, every single little complaint that a fan has, to come out and make a statement. I'm not saying that. But when it's been building like this for a year, at some point, man, you got to just, if you truly want to be here and you truly want to fix it and you truly believe in everything that you're doing, you got to say something. I mean, the last press conference or interview that we've heard from him was on that stupid podcast that he did before Musk got left. Like, he used to do press conferences, or at least interviews, on local radio stations. He hasn't done it. So unless it's the propaganda network over there, but I'm fed up with that element of it too, because I at least feel like there should be somebody in charge, reading the room and trying to put out all the fires that people have, and just saying, hey, I see that y'all are pissed. I see how it's going. I still believe in this thing. Get behind me and let's go. Well, at least give me that. But he hasn't. He really hasn't. So that's all I got.
What do you think the reaction would be if he did? Let's say we got a media advisory right now that said Hunter Yurachek will address the media at 2 p.m. today. What questions would be asked, and what would he say? I wonder.
I mean,
because when I think about reading the room, I get it. But then on the other side of it, I'm like, he knows he's the most hated man in in Fayetteville right now. He probably knows there's nothing he could say that would help his cause right now. Like, I just don't know what he'd say. I'm not saying it's a bad idea.
I do think it's like the Roger Goodell thing a little bit, where the NFL has positioned Roger Goodell to almost take all the beatings, where he's like the figurehead of like where everyone can direct their anger. And you never hear from Roger Goodell. He's just a guy that everyone hates unanimously, and it kind of takes blame from other people. I wonder if Hunter's kind of assumed that role, where it's like, I'm just going to take all the hits. Everyone just be mad at me. Don't be mad at Cal. Don't be mad at Pittman. Don't be mad at anyone else. Just be mad at me, and I'll just sit here and go into oblivion. I do think there's something to, John, your point of him probably banking on getting another job. Like, I think that's probably a fair theory to have, considering he was in the running for like 5 different ones. And I also don't, I get your point about, for a year this has been building, and it's like Curtis said, you got to kind of acknowledge that you have a problem. So I think that's when you're in a time where Razorback fans are basically desperately looking for anything to give them some type of hope. And really, we just want acknowledgement of the fact that shit sucks, And I think there's going to be a time and place for it. But to Curtis's point, I don't know when that would be. I don't know how, if you just like schedule a press conference and he's going to be like, hey guys, I know everything sucks, but hopefully it won't suck soon. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah. And again, there's a different ways to do it. My thing would be, say, if, like, for your example of a press conference, there'll be a lot of fans that don't care. There'll be fans that'll be pissed off no matter what. I guess, but from my perspective, though, it at least shows something, some sort of life and some sort of fire of like, being at, and just giving your take of, okay, you didn't make a move on Sam Pittman. How do you feel? Or the NIL, hey, what's the state of it right now? Is it bad? Is it good? Because all we've had is him at the touchdown club at the beginning of football season say, donate to the Arkansas Edge. Haven't heard a peep since then. Like, so what's the NIL situation? What's the situation with, the facilities that are on plan? Like, those are the things that I think people want to hear about and at least hear from him. And I don't know. I just haven't. And I feel like everything else this would not be a problem if this was something that just started happening over the past month or two. But, again, it feels like a year has gone by and we know maybe 2 or 3 times we've heard from him, and, that we see him sometimes, but he's not very interactive with anybody. I get it, but I don't know. I'm selfishly just wanting that because I want to, it's like the president of the United States, not to get political, but I want to hear from even if the crap's bad. It's like, I still want to hear from him at least. Still want to see what he says, have some accountability. So that's all I'm asking for. I don't know if it'll make anything better or worse, but just be there.
Here's the fundamental flaw in our thinking right here is that we're assuming that Hunter Yurachek knows, believes, and acknowledges that there are issues.
True.
And it might just be the opposite.
Yeah.
Because who's the one that decided to keep Sam Pittman and why? Because he had the barometers there and Sam Pittman met him, whether we agree with him or not. So in his mind, he could be like, yep, cool, great, heading in the right direction. We see the spin that's being put on the transfer portal class and everything like that. Like however you want to manipulate the statistics there. Oh, cool, great, they're doing their thing. Oh yeah, we got John Calipari. Oh yeah, he told us to be patient. Oh, 11-4. All right, yeah. Oh, it wouldn't surprise me if he's legit. Just like, it's good. These people are crazy.
No, I think
I agree with him. And it damn sure doesn't mean he's right, but I wonder if that's it. I'm just trying to think about why there's the silence here,
And I think you're right. And because, again, we've talked about it a lot. Football attendance was great. So for Hunter Yurachek's perspective, it's like 7-6 with a, historic level of attendance. That's a win for him. In basketball, they damn sure didn't have an issue selling season tickets. All the attendance issues are not affecting the money that the university's bringing in. They got a ton of that. John, you asked about the NIL situation. We know it's pretty good for basketball. We know they got a pretty good baseball team going in. You know what I mean? So it's like, I do think there's something to that, Curtis, of like, that's a good point of like, Hunter Yurachek's like, I'm crushing it, dude. Like, I don't know what y'all mean. I'm crushing it.
Which situation would we rather have? That he's hiding in a corner, ducking, getting out and speaking the truth, or that he in his heart of hearts really believes oh no, everything's fine. Which would we prefer be the case here?
Really, honestly, I think he's got a list of numbers that he is showing to as many different other SEC programs and being like, hey, I'm a great AD. Look at it. Look at the attendance. Look at all this. Please hire me.
Yeah. I mean, neither of them would be great. I don't know. Maybe it's something about whenever you get on the college football playoff committee, you suddenly just become want to go somewhere else. Maybe that's the case. But we'll get to your
chairman of that sucker. You remember that?
That's right. Yeah. First year of it too. And we'll get to your phone calls because I know we got some people calling in. But my final thing on this would just be I know that, everybody wants something different and everybody wants to hear something different, or, they all have their selfish things of what they want. And I'm just coming from my selfish perspective of everything. But it's just a matter of, I want it. I feel like, sorry, Curtis, I really am sorry for this. Andrew, I feel like this is Disney Star Wars right now, where it looks like Arkansas, it's there, but it's just not the same. And you feel like it's, you love it so much and it's been a part of you, but it's like, what are y'all doing here? Like, this is not what I was hoping for. This is not what it's supposed to be about. And it's just it makes you mad because you're like, it should be better than this. But the ones that are on charge is like, well, as long as we're making our money, who cares? Flipping the double birds to you. That's what it feels like right now. Sorry, Curtis, but it feels like Disney Star Wars right now.
No, and that's fair. And I think to Curtis' point, I think Kathleen Kennedy would just be like, look, Disney Plus has a ton of subscribers, record viewership. What do you mean Star Wars sucks? We made $1 billion at the box office. What do you mean it sucks? And so I think it's a fair comparison for sure.
Yeah. Which I just hate the fact that I did that, but it's a little bit true there. Let's go to the phone lines. I believe this is this Swish Musselman, I believe. We'll go with it.
Long time no
Swish?
no hear from.
Dog?
You there, Swish? Oh, Swish.
Hey, what's up, boys? Can you hear me?
Hey,
There we
it.
go.
All right. How much time do I have?
I'll tell you what, we will tell you when you're running out.
No.
We'll buzz
Hey,
you.
John, I just want to say, first of all, you need to give Hunter the benefit of the doubt. People across the country are marveling at the job that man has done.
Yeah.
No, I told Curtis last night. I saw Hunter with 5 minutes left in the game. We're down 11 or whatever it was, and he is laughing or smiling with a friend of his, which really pissed me off. Just rubbed me the wrong way.
That's tough.
There's the point of the main point of my call here is every day I get on like The Athletic and I'm reading these stories, right? And it says, read how this 30-year-old savant has transformed Auburn's offense, or Purdue or Illinois, Mississippi State hired some guy off the internet. Josh Schertz at St. Louis has some Asian kid with a 36 on his ACT that probably never dribbled a basketball in his life. I mean, to me, it seems so almost too simple to fix this problem. I mean, most coaches would kill to have the NIL money that we have or get the talent that we can get. I mean, do you ever see somebody like Cal kind of evolving to the point where, hey, like I may need an athletic or I may need an offensive coordinator? I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Curtis specifically, but the rest of you as well?
Man, oh man. Yeah. And we've talked about this personally a number of times, and it's really about swallowing your pride a little bit. And it's like when Cal got hired, one of the first things you looked at was, well, is he just gonna run it back with the boys, and bring all of his former assistants, or is he going to mix it up a little bit and get some fresh blood in there? And not only did he not mix it up with some fresh blood and some new bodies, he didn't bring the two guys who I thought were the best for him, which was Orlando Antigua, who is over at Illinois now. And then speaking of OCs, John Welch, who was their offensive coordinator last year. He did make that move. And then we saw Kentucky with one of the best offenses in the country. They led the entire nation in 3-point shooting. They played fast. They look like a completely different program on the offensive end of the floor. And it's one thing for guys to go get other opportunities or whatever, but Welch not only didn't come to Arkansas, and I don't know if he was asked to come to Arkansas, now he's just an assistant over at Fresno State. So you're telling me like you couldn't have coerced him financially to come with you? And so, yeah. And then what we're seeing now is a lot less of what made Kentucky's offense exciting last year and a lot more of what made people want to rip their hair out in previous seasons. I do think a part of this being a successful venture, big picture for Cal, is for him to be willing to do that, to adapt, to get some fresh blood and be open to some new ideas. And I'm not going to sit here and call, everybody on his staff yes man, because I don't know him like that, but it gives off the vibes that that's what he's got surrounding him right now, because it's just kind of more of the same of what was pissing people off in Lexington.
Yeah, for sure. And Underwood at Illinois, I mean, their offense was terrible for a long time. He goes and talks with Jay Wright. He installs a completely new brand of basketball. And now, I mean, who wouldn't want to have Illinois or their offense or Brad Underwood? I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I hate to kind of make this comparison, but it feels like, for football, we're going to be the last SEC program to probably hire a general manager. And in basketball, we'll be the last team to probably have an offensive coordinator, even though it's clearly the direction that the game is headed. It's just, I don't know. It sucks to be a Razorback fan sometimes, but glad we have a place we can all rent and, get mad at. So
heard that.
Yeah.
That's all I got, boys. Well, I appreciate you taking my call, and let's look forward to Saturday. Todd Golden's a pretty good coach himself. Don't let him near your little sister, but that man can draw up a play. That's for sure.
It's true. Hey, we appreciate it, Swish. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I was waiting for that part. I was like, okay, it's surely going to have something like that with it.
Some good. He's really good at throwing some zingers in there at perfect times.
Yeah.
Doesn't it suck that we can't do any of those jokes though leading up to the Florida game because we just we kind of know what's going to happen and it's like we can maybe get them out of our system, but they're gonna get dunked on real quickly. But
you know who would normally be all over that? The student section.
Yeah.
You know what they're not going to be all over? That.
I saw somebody. I think it was David Martz had a funny tweet where he was like the boo the one guy at Bud thing in 2025. It's just it's run its course.
Everything has run its course.
By the way, I didn't even hate that back in the day, but it was like when they were really committed to it and they were really booing every time. It was fine, but it's definitely run its course, and the effort is just not there anymore.
No. I mean, I still think that with those student section signs I keep talking about with the starting lineup. I remember when we lifted them up, like they were the same exact signs from 1994. These same signs. They were bent up. They smelled terrible. Like they were old. And as soon as they changed them because you couldn't say who's she anymore, they had to take that one out because, the message. But they took that one out. And then because we used to do our own for them too. I'll never forget, shout out Andy Kennedy. When he came to Bud Walton, we held up a sign that said taxi. Because, if you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up, folks.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know you guys do. But I did that like we did when Archie Goodwin came to Bud Walton. We held up one that just said D-League because that's where we felt like he was going to go. Like, so just having some, ownership in that. But the student section, again, kind of goes back to the whole thing of the U of A. They're not going to let them do any of that stuff. Like, they don't even allow signs in anymore. They just have to sit there and, do the same regurgitated stuff over and over and over again. But yeah, good call, Swish. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and a lot of the people in the chat are echoing that.
Yeah,
and apparently I'm echoing too.
Yeah,
from the calls in the chat. Trey did like a little victory lap after his phone call. He's like, "Hey, you like that? You like that? That's pretty good."
A good way to get bumped up on the phone lines is insulting John. So
apparently, yeah. We'll just throw you to the top. I was like, I love a good roast every single day. Yeah, because Dalton even said, he said, Curtis knows so much ball that the universe automatically echoes it to make sure everyone hears it. That's why I don't say anything when Curtis is talking ball, because I'm just like, I feel like, Delmer from Brother Art. I was like, all right, I'm with you fellas. It's like, that's how I feel. All right, I'm just going to go with that.
Well, thanks for that.
Then whenever John will ask a question and I have like 3 bullet points that I want to get to, and then Curtis just knocks them off. And I'm like, should I just repeat what he said or what?
I need to start having Andrew answer first. Give him some questions. Hey, all right, Andrew, you start, and then we'll see. Maybe Curtis will be like, Andrew, that was great points, man. Like,
start cutting Curtis off. I've done it a few times here and there. So
I've been trying to limit my bullet points. I'm trying to leave some more meat on the bone, because that's a tough spot to be in. But yeah, I hear myself echoing right now, but it's not my computer. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's just at different points today I've heard it.
I don't hear it, so I thought the chat was going crazy. Are you actually echoing?
Just every now and again.
I assume it's probably my fault. But.
Well, I was going to say the only difference today is that we got the phone lines back up. I don't know what that would change, but
yeah, well,
it's happened a couple times.
We're a well-oiled machine here, so yeah. But hey, it's fine. It's totally fine. We'll figure it out. Huh?
I said fire our producer.
5-star rate and review, everybody.
Yes. Let us know in the chat just how much you hate it. Shout out to Sharkensaw. Give us a super chat. Appreciate it, man. He says, you guys know all this bitching we are doing means the Hogs are going to naturally end up beating Florida this weekend.
Hope so. I really hope that that's true. And you might be onto something. So
I hope that's true, and I appreciate the super chat, Sharkensaw, but I'm actually kind of sad he said this, because I think fans really do think they have reverse jinxing power, where they're like, oh, it's going to be horrible. They're not going to win any games. And they're like spamming the chat with it, hoping that the universe will turn them into, will go the opposite way. I swear that there's a lot of Razorback fans. I have a buddy, one of my roommates in college. He was the worst reverse jinxer of all time. He'd place a bet, and he's like, yeah, no way the Titans cover +9. No way. I'm like, okay, relax. Like, you don't have to do this.
Also, a super chat we got to get from Ozzy. It says, Hunter the incompetent Yurachek is the pro blim. Yep. He is that pro blim. Thank you, Ozzy. Still.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate it. A few other chats here, because I know we'll get some other things to talk about, folks. Hog on it says Stetson, Grace, and Hunter Yurachek. John going down his list like the crazy guy in Mr. Deeds. First off, you got the movies wrong. That's Billy Madison. Come on now. It's the other Adam Sandler movie. But
I still cannot get over the Grace DeFola diss that took place on this program today. I did not expect that to happen.
Yeah. Well, again, it's just I was holding it in my back pocket for a long time, I guess. It's just something that bothered me in that day, and I was like, I don't need to bring this up. It's not that big of a deal. And then it just hit me. I'm like, you know what? I am bringing it up. I just got to get it off my chest in that way. I'm sure I'll hear about it from somebody later. All right, a few other chats here too. Some of these are really ridiculous, but they're kind of funny. Like this one was talking about Arkansas goes on an 8-0 run, followed by John Williams, the right spelling, by the way, yelling into the mic about a new sponsorship with a car wash to kill momentum. That's, again, Marshall, we talked about it a little bit, but it's like, I get it, and I don't disagree fully, but it's not new. It's been around for quite some time, and it's never really killed the atmosphere as much as it has here recently.
But it does suck. Let's be clear about
yes,
that.
It does. It does. Like I don't like the stuff like that, especially as often as they do it. I think that's the thing. I get that you got to fill time in between breaks, but like there's some people that like even asked me, like there's a few fans that weren't even Razorback fans that were tweeting at me last night. They're like, does Arkansas have a pep band in there? Like, yeah, they do. Like, oh, I just never heard them and never saw them. It's like, well, they're in there. They do exist sometimes. Also, I guess the mellow guy. This guy is the guy that you guys dealt with in the chat once, right?
Oh yeah, he's back.
I was wondering why I got singled out. I'm like, why do I have to talk about this? But we did talk about Boogie a good bit on last night's post-game reaction show. And we talked negatively about how I felt like it was one of the few games this year that I felt like he really did force the issue. He really fell in love with the pull-up, long two, with like 21 seconds left on the shot clock, a lot of no dribble possessions. It was absolutely an issue. And I think all of Arkansas's guards could definitely, we talked about the pick and roll offense, like their vision on those plays. They're just not seeing the mismatches that the big men are having a lot of those times. I mean, it was not a banner night for Boogie Fland.
No,
if your starting backcourt shoots 9 for 33, you're not going to beat anybody. You'll go winless in the SEC if Boogie and DJ combine to go 9 for 33, especially if you can't get Jonas A do a shot.
Also, Eli just says that it's been hard not having Bombastic this morning. I missed that beautiful voice. So,
well, I did record one right before this, which I guess it'll go out, I don't know, 2:30. We'll call it 2:30. We'll go 2:30 Bombastic. See everyone there.
There you go. Also, like I said, to take that one out. We're trying to get through all the chats, folks, because again, we'll get some other topics here too. But I wanted to also say this from Finch. He said, "Hey John, when me and my son ran into you at the Oakland game for his birthday, you think that there was more attendance there or last night?" No, I think last night was the most attended game of the season at Bud Walton, and it did fill in. And I hope people understood. And maybe I didn't make it very clear on social media when I posted that picture. That was about right at tip, and it did fill in more. And that honestly is, again, not the biggest issue I have as much as it is like one, where the seats are, like where those empty seats are at, because they're really good seats that are empty, and two, just the atmosphere in general. So yeah. But yeah, it filled up all right.
I'm more alarmed after last night, even though it was a larger crowd, because larger crowd didn't equal better atmosphere. And that tells me that there's a bigger problem, like a more underlying reason than some of the, well, I can't go because the weather's bad or I got church or whatever. No, like people showed up, but they just weren't engaged.
I see right on cue, because it started at 6:00. I see right on cue people doing that. Again, that the attendance isn't even the issue. Like, good Lord, 6:30 p.m. should not affect your energy levels.
No, because here's the deal. Is there any belief that on Saturday there's going to be more than what there was last night? I don't have that belief.
No.
Well, and at least Saturday, there's going to be it's going to be snow all over the place. It might actually end up being like a half full Bud Walton Arena.
Okay.
But well, how about to the whole point we're making? 2 years ago, when they had snow games in Bud against A&M and LSU, it was a significantly lower attended crowd, but it was an awesome crowd. Awesome. They moved people to the lower bowl. It was a good atmosphere. So I think it's going to be a low attendance and a low energy crowd on Saturday.
Yeah. See, that's another thing too. Like, why don't they just do the simple things like that? Like when the crowd hasn't been great and there's a lot of empty seats down low, just make the announcement at the under 8 timeout or whatever in the first half. Just be, hey, empty seats down here, folks. Come on down. Like what? Why? Just do it. Simple. Easy. Also, Kingsley comes in. Good to hear from you, Kingsley. He says, the people killing Cal this year will be trying to praise him in a year or two when lightning strikes and all the 5 stars and transfers come together. I wish I could save the chat receipts. What are you saying?
Yeah, maybe. But that doesn't make any of the frustration right now invalid.
Yeah.
You know? Like I hope that we're in the case where everything's great and they have a team that really pops off and clicks. And if so, great. Like it was an investment and a worthwhile move to get Cal in here. But like the issues right now are real.
Yeah, like the idea that Cal obviously can be better and his teams can be better doesn't make this team not bad. It doesn't make the situation right now not a bad one. Like if they turn it around and end up going on a great run, we will have no problem acknowledging that. But right now, it's definitely not going well. It's been a disappointment, and we're sad about it. Is that okay?
Yep. It's not going to be. It's not going to be okay, but we're just going to say it and hope for the best. All right, folks. Again, we'll get to your chats. We'll have some more things to talk about, but of course, we want to give a shout out to one of our newest sponsors here on Inside Arkansas. Of course, it's Bryant Technologies. They're dedicated to delivering high-quality network infrastructure, security camera solutions. Take pride in their exceptional workmanship and commitment to your business operations, seamlessly connected and secure. And a lot of you have source structured cabling that you need done, security camera installation, digital signage, TV mounting, all the good stuff. Well, Bryant Technology is going to have you covered not only in the state of Arkansas, but the surrounding bordering states of Arkansas as well. So give them a call today at 870-883-0330, or you can check out their website at Bryant's Technology. There's an S in between Bryant and Technology. So Bryant'sTechnology.com. It's Bryant Technology's quality work guaranteed. A few things of note, guys. College football playoff, of course, tonight gets underway. Penn State and Notre Dame. Yeah, who you guys got in that one?
I think Notre Dame.
Notre
I
Dame.
do too.
Their running back's healthy, by the way, from what I've been told.
Yeah. I'm hoping for Notre. Here's the thing. I hate Notre Dame, but I actually do like Freeman. Like I do think he's a good coach and a good dude. So I hated him more when Brian Kelly was there because Brian Kelly's Brian Kelly, but I think I'm rooting for him. Also, guys, just a random note. Carson Beck has entered into the transfer portal.
Just saw that
what?
as you were reading the ad there. Yeah.
Carson Beck has
Wow.
entered into the portal.
Where's he gonna go? Like,
I don't know.
Well, somebody had to give him a bag. Had to.
yeah. I
I keep
remember
seeing
I
people
was
saying
watching the first
Miami.
game of the year. They were playing Clemson on the ABC. And whenever Carson Beck was like starting his season, they like showed this graphic on ESPN. They were like, he wrote down 3 goals at the beginning of the year: win the national championship, win the Heisman, and be a first-round draft pick. Well, you're in the portal. It didn't work out that way, but close.
He's gonna be like the DJ Uyunglele of the transfer portal this year. Just a guy that gets way overhyped, and then they realize, oh yeah, he really wasn't even that good at Georgia, and now he's got less talent around him, and he's not very good here.
Or is he going to be the Kyle McCord, where he goes to some place like a Syracuse and is like a hero? I think that's what he should try to do. I don't think he should go to another big name school. Go to like Boston College and play for Bill O'Brien and see if you can throw for 4,000 yards.
Yeah.
I just assume that he's going to end up going to Ole Miss like everybody else. So,
he would fit in so well at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would. And I think that they need a quarterback next year, don't they? Or I'm sure they're probably going with one of their other guys.
That dude who came in when we were watching the game before we went to the Baylor thing, John, against Georgia, that led that touchdown drive. Simmons, I think is his name.
Yeah.
He looked promising, but I'm sure they'd want to have a plan B or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm just again assuming that Ole Miss will get him because they freaking get everybody else. So yeah, that was pretty crazy to see that news. And I'm not saying he's the most surprising, but he's definitely up there as far as one of the most surprising type of players to enter into the portal.
For sure.
I mean, he was the starter at Georgia, and usually it's not guys that jump out. But yeah, I just assume he got a bag, and everyone's saying Miami is where he's going to go, but we'll see.
Okay, interesting.
Yep. Let's see. Also, a few other things. Actually, that's like the main thing going out. Somebody said it's snowing in South Fayetteville right now. I can't see out
I was gonna say I'm
right now in Farmington.
I'm watching for snow, and it's
I'm
it's
looking at it with my
outside my
eyeball
window.
right now.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys something real quick, just on the snow topic. When you're snowed in, Like, do you do something specific? Like, he's like, oh, when snow happens, got to make s'mores, or something like that? Or is it just kind of, figure out something I have to do at the house?
I dropped Michelle off at the airport this morning because she's leaving me again.
As is tradition.
Not to nearly as cool of a place as Rome, but then I went to the store and got everything for chili, making some chili.
There you go.
That's pretty
You going to
good.
do it in a crock pot or just a pot? There you
Crock
go.
pot action.
Best way to do it.
I like that. For me, honestly, John, it's no problem.
Nice.
Yeah. It's good.
Although I'm not doing the chili recipe that I should have. I already bought everything. I didn't think about it, but Kingsley low key gave me just an incredible idea. He made a pretty awesome pot of chili in a very unique way.
Okay.
And, I figured he might put something in the comments or text me about it, but just so you know, yeah, there he is right there.
Over
the top chili. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that before. It's a really, really cool way to do it. But no, I'm just throwing a bunch of ingredients in a crock pot and letting it simmer all day.
Dude, you should definitely take Kingsley's advice. The only thing I've eaten from Kingsley's hands was ribs. I had them about 1 a.m. A couple days after we left Fort Worth. Tremendous. Maybe I was just fiending at 1 a.m. But they were tremendous ribs. So I'd take his advice. I mean, when we met him, he had brisket on his hat.
Yeah, that's right.
And we were like talking about barbecue, and I'm like, well, he's got brisket on the hat. I mean, it's got to be good.
Yeah. If someone's rocking a brisket on their hat, they probably know a thing or two about food, about good food. But I just anything. Don't do sweet heat chili. I tried that this year because I was like, oh, this kind of looks interesting. Sucked. It's the worst chili ever. So don't do that.
This over the top chili, like you put the meat for the chili like you can do it in the oven or elsewhere, but like you put that on a grate and then you put the actual bowl with all the stuff underneath it, and it's like a slow cook. I don't know. It's an interesting method. And he was giving me like a play-by-play via video, and I've been thinking about it ever since. So
okay, very nice, very nice. You know what? Honestly, I just do like random stuff. I'll either fire up the old PS5 or I'll just like watch if there's a sporting event on. My dog hates like outside as it is, but for some reason he loves the snow, so maybe I'll try to get him out in it. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I do was remiss to remind everybody about this, but just to give everyone a heads up, next Tuesday, we are doing an official watch party inside Arkansas. People are talking about doing a live stream and wanting us to do the game and everything. Well, Arkansas plays LSU on the road starting at 8 p.m. and Brothers Meat House up in Bentonville, where it's a new place, great barbecue, speaking of, and we're going to be doing a watch party up there for the game. There'll also be Inside Arkansas Trivia, which is what we're going to call it to make sure we don't get an email that's nastily worded. But how it's going to work is starting at 7 o'clock, we're going to do a little Inside Arkansas Trivia. We'll have some prizes to give away and everything, dealing with particular sports of a certain university that happens to be located in the northwest corner of the natural state. So we'll be doing that, and we'll have some giveaways for that leading. And then, of course, trivia ends at 8. And we'll watch the game all together. We'll do a live stream as we're watching it, doing commentary, and have some fun with it. So come on out to Bentonville for Brothers Meat House next Tuesday night, as we're all three going to be there hanging out and watching the game. And I'm sure it'll go really well.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. The best part about our previous regime was those watch parties. And
those are fun.
Some of you are new. Like if you weren't around for those Natty State days when we were doing those for the basketball games, it gets weird. It's a really good time. So join us for that for sure. In person if you can, but if you're not from around or you can't get to Bentonville, hop on the stream. It's engaging. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he lied. You have to be there in person.
Yes.
You have to be there in person. But if you live at least 5 hours away, we'll excuse you. But anybody within 5 hours, if you're living in Little Rock, still got to make the trek. We got to be there in person. It's going to be fun. You usually can get that's when we get a little rowdy because we're on camera for a long time. I mean, we do an 1.5 hour show every day, but we're structured and we know what we're doing here. When it's a 2+ hour stream and we're watching a game in real time and just reacting, we let it fly a little bit. We get some. There's some good content that comes out of there.
We're not going to do the smelling salts.
I was like, we're not doing the smelling salts. Definitely not.
No. We can't do the same gag again. We got to move on to the next one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great food, and they got a full bar there, folks. So if you want to drown your sorrows away with seeing Arkansas lose, they'll take care of you for that. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And doing those live streams also too. I don't even know if this is going to be the case. I assume probably Jimmy Dykes is on the call. So if you hate that, just listen to us because we're going to commentate it and give our own thoughts and opinions, with a little inside Arkansas flavor on it. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. But going back to what I was going to say for the snow stuff too is, folks, just please be safe out there. Don't try to risk anything. I understand that some of you have jobs that you can't miss, all that, and I get it, understand it. I'm just saying, please be safe. Don't risk it. If you know somebody that has a 4-wheel drive, which I also hate too. This pisses me off every time I make jokes about, hey, you got 4-wheel drive. Be like, well, actually, 4-wheel drive doesn't do anything on ice. Yeah, thanks. I know that. But it's like, still, it does a little bit better than going out there in a Ford Pinto. Okay, so just shut up. My point is that be safe. All right, that's all I'm saying. Be safe.
For sure.
Be cautious and try not to get out in it if you don't have to get out in it.
Yeah, like it's gonna be a mess here in Fayetteville, and I know every other part of the state's probably gonna get it worse. So careful there. And then I saw Hog on it mention the fires, man.
Dude, that's scary stuff.
Out there in Cali, that's terrifying. When you have a combination of a fire started and like 80-mile-an-hour winds pushing that all over the place, that's scary stuff. So I don't know if anybody who listens to this show is out there, or if you have family or loved ones or whatever, Muss out there. They wound up playing the game, but they couldn't broadcast it last night, I think is what I saw, because they just couldn't justify the technology and get everything they needed over there. I'm surprised that they even played, man, but that's scary stuff out there.
Yeah. The images have been, like just horrifying, and not being political, but just seeing like that they don't have water, like in the hydrants to come out and everything. Yeah. Like luckily we here, at least in Arkansas, we'll have some climate that'll, cause some damage. Sometimes we get tornadoes in the area. Flooding has happened for sure. But with those wildfires, man, there's literally nothing you can do. There is nothing you can do. And it's destroying everything. It sucks.
And what sucks worse about it is like they're having water shortage issues.
Yeah.
You got a whole ocean right beside you, but you can't use it because the salt content ruins everything. And then it's so pricey and time consuming to desaltify it or whatever the hell you call it. It's just a bad situation to see everything burning down around you and then looking, to your left and seeing just thousands and thousands and thousands of miles worth of water that you can't use for it. That sucks, man.
Yeah, it's tough because, like, obviously we are not from the West Coast. I don't know how much time you guys have spent out there, but I always kind of think about like which is worse, living in like tornado area, hurricane area, or like flooding area, or like the earthquakes. Because in California, you've got the earthquakes combined with the wildfires. Like that has to be the worst combo of like natural disaster to be on edge about. Like, and hurricanes suck too. But geez, dude, like California, man, they got it rough right about now.
Well, it's also like, I'm not trying to say one disaster is better than the other, because obviously all disasters are horrible. But that's the thing is like, with hurricanes, things can be built a certain way, or like it doesn't destroy everything in its path. Same thing, like fire that destroys everything in its path. Like there's no, my house is built this certain way. No, because it's gonna it'll take everything like immediately. So yeah, really scary stuff. So thoughts and prayers to everyone out there. And, we talk about snowstorms and ice storms coming in. Give me that over what they're having to deal with out there in Southern California, because that's awful. Few chats here, folks, before we call it a day here and start bunkering in. But shout out to Finch. He just said, also want to thank y'all for always being here and getting in with us daily for the good and the bad. You're welcome, Finch. We appreciate you.
I appreciate everybody that's tapped in on a day after a tough loss, I know it's easy as a fan to just be like, you know what, the team sucks, I'm out. Like, I'm not consuming any content. So we really do appreciate you guys sticking through, because that's what makes it special. When you have the good times, you remember these times when you were tapped in with us on a Thursday when it was freezing and the country was on fire, but we were still here talking ball and having a good time. You gotta be there for the bad if you want to enjoy the good.
That's right.
Yep. I know it's always timing that we have no control over, but man, just think how much fun we'd be having right now if we were doing what we're doing during the 21-22 Razorback seasons. Like how much fun that would have been. But
we thought about that a lot when we were getting ready to start this thing, and we didn't consider enough the impact of the teams just falling off a freaking cliff. So
we also thought we were going to be starting right at the time Sam Pittman got fired, and it didn't happen then. It didn't happen this year. I don't know if it's going to happen next year, but we're still waiting on that bump.
yeah. Hey, we got the Calipari hire, and that one was definitely big. That was big. So
the best thing about this is we got the bump from the Calipari hire. Now everybody already wants him out of here, and so then they'll get excited for another coaching search.
Yeah, and a lot of other people
home this time.
They're going to run him out of town before Pittman. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, and also it's just amazing how many people are trying to do what we're doing now.
Yeah.
A few other chats too. This also comes from Vince. He said, Curtis, don't know if you saw my comment on one of the streams, but did you ever play against Gosnell with big Jeremy Parnell? Since you did get to play versus Monk when they played each other, it was lit.
No, we never played against Gosnell. Boy, that's a familiar name though. I'm gonna have to go back and look. And it's weird that we didn't, because we're really not that far apart, but no, we didn't. We never played against them.
Okay. I felt that name or how was it? I just deleted it. Parnell. Yeah. It seemed familiar, but I was just I think I got him mixed up with who was the Tennessee player we just mentioned, the other Jarnell Stokes. I don't know why I got him mixed up with him, but yeah, someone there. Let's see. Also, I guess since I got insulted, Kay wanted to say, I actually saw you for the first time at Bud Walton, John, and you're an absolute unit, man.
John, this is like you're kind of shrinking on us. I feel like you're getting smaller and smaller. You said you're a unit though. Maybe you saw the wrong guy.
Maybe so. I don't know what that means. Like, what is it? Is a unit a good compliment, right?
It's just big, like just a big person.
Oh, well then no, I'm not that big.
Yeah.
Well,
big guy.
Some more than others, but
you're big where it counts.
That's right.
Your heart and your brain.
Yes, that particular organ
and socks.
Yes, you know what they say about big feet, big socks. Also, I like this from one. Bray says, "I'm just tired of not having excitement for Arkansas sports. I watch a lot of other teams. It just looks like everyone else does sports ball better." And also to that, they looks like they're having a lot more fun too. So
yeah, I mean, it feels exactly that way right now. By the way, that I knew the Jeremy Parnell name was familiar. You played at Ole Miss.
Okay. Yes. Around that same time.
Yeah.
Man. Okay. And let's see. Shout out to Logan, official sponsor of the show today. Says, we're like drug addicts. Coaching searches fuel me. It is the best for content, man. There's nothing better and nothing. It's a lot of work and like everything. But I'll never forget when I was at the Morning Rush back in the chat, or the Eric Musselman hire as well as the Sam Pittman hire. Y'all, I'm just going to be honest. Plane tracking is so stupid and means nothing. But people love that stuff, man. Like, every day is just like, how come, has anyone thought about this particular name of a coach? Like, that's all it is. It's just guessing games. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love coaching searches, especially when somebody ends up being good. And one final one. I thought I had it here somewhere, but I guess I didn't. I forgot to star it, so I am sorry. I'm sure it was a great comment, though. Sure, it was a great comment.
Shout out to the anonymous comment.
Yeah, it's on me. Oh, yeah. Okay, I found it. Trey says, also, John, I'm sorry for the hairline comment. I was just messing around. All love, bro. Hey, listen, Trey, it's okay. If that's that's literally mild compared to what most people bring up about me and my physical appearance, but I appreciate it.
Somebody said something about your forehead earlier in the chat. I almost started.
I can't help it, folks. I'm sorry. I wish that I had just a luxurious head of hair, but we do what we got to do. We do what we got to do.
One thing that I can say for certain about John Neighbors, man has thick skin. You didn't bother him.
He does. But it's on the spectrum. Like these are low level. Low level.
Yeah. Trust me. The only thing that's ever really sets me off is and it's not happen often. And please don't do it. I'm serious. But when people mention my family members' names by name, that gets me. That's what will piss me off. But everything else, because usually it comes from people that aren't even real or just trolling. So it's like, it's my DMs are weird sometimes, I'll admit, but it keeps it interesting and entertaining. So we appreciate it.
I do feel like you were bothered by the accusations of infiltrating our ewes with 2% chocolate milk. But other than that,
I will never forget that one. That one was, because my 2%, this guy comes at me, for those of you who don't, for context, some guy went after me about my take on how I want, I guess, what was it? I wanted to feed all the kids, or was it take away or give them nothing but chocolate milk?
Basically, you're a terrible human being, and the type of guy that justifies giving 2% chocolate milk to the ewes.
Where do y'all come up with this stuff, man?
I don't know, bro.
Like, I just do not get it. So, and I like this for SCT, because he's like, John's got thick makeup. Thank you. I appreciate that too. So, all right, guys, any final thoughts before we roll out of here?
No, nothing that hasn't already been said, but I'll just reiterate, like, be safe out there.
Yeah.
The flakes are getting heavy outside my window. So, do that. Stay home, stay warm, listen to Inside Arkansas. I think that's probably a pretty good plan for the next couple of days.
That is a good plan. Stay home, stay safe, and tap in with what we got going on. Bombastic Podcast, 2:30. Everyone be there.
There you go. It's going to be awesome, folks. Again, stay safe. We appreciate it. And don't forget, next Tuesday night, Bentonville, Brothers Meat House. Be there. 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock, a watch party of a particular game that we can't mention, but it's going to be a lot of fun. All of us are going to be up there, so be sure to pull up. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching in. Be sure to subscribe to us here on Inside Arkansas on our YouTube page. Subscribe to us here on Inside Arkansas for all of our great content across the podcast era, and that is with Pod at the Palace. It's also with Bombastic. It's with Pod of That Nature. It's with Inside Arkansas Live. All in podcast form wherever podcasts are found. Find us on social media at Inside Arkansas, as well as our website, InsideArkansas.com, for all the latest and greatest up-to-date information on all things Razorbacks, and we will keep it going from there. So, for Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow at noon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you.